Good afternoon, REDX listeners. Hello, my name is Haley Johnson. I will be your host today. I'm very excited for today's episode. We've got some really good content coming your way. We have Vincent Zaloom with us. Welcome, Vincent.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So excited.
Yes, me too. This is going to be awesome. This is your first time being on the podcast, so this is going to be great. A lot of our listeners probably haven't heard from you yet, so I think this will be awesome.
What a shame. They've gone all this long without hearing me. How terrible is that, right?
I can't wait.
They don't know how lucky they are, really. So, okay. So.
Oh, come on. They're in for a treat for sure today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, just to talk to our audience that is listening, our live audience, be sure to ask questions today. This is a participatory event. So if you have any questions as we're talking for Vincent, please put them in the chat. I'll be sure to ask them to him and we'll get those answered. If you aren't subscribed yet to the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, our website, or anything, be sure to subscribe. You can subscribe at theredx.com/podcasts and put your email in, and you'll get an email every time we have a new podcast. So very exciting stuff. All right, now that we've gone through that, Vincent, let's get started with just a little bit of an introduction because people haven't seen you on here yet. Let's just talk about kind of the beginning of you getting into real estate and where you are today.
Okay, so I started in 1983. I was 18. My father and his father, my father was in the real estate business and believe it or not, continues to be to this day at the age of 85 years old. His father was the one who encouraged him to get into the real estate business. So my father in the late 1950s, early 1960s, got his real estate license and then became a real estate appraiser. So in 1983, when I got licensed, I started out, got my real estate license, but most of my work the first few years was real estate appraisals in Staten Island and Brooklyn and Queens. And after doing that for a while, I'm like, I just can't do this for the next 50 years. It's just going out on inspections and taking photos and writing up reports and looking up comps. I'm like, I cannot do this for the next how many years. So I went to him one day and I said, Dad, I'm going to kind of break off and I'm just going to do real estate sales. And that's kind of where it started. In 1987, I purchased the Coldwell Banker franchise. In 1990, purchased the Century 21 franchise. And that's the year that I started to really kick into high gear. I took a training class. I don't know if some of you guys have heard of Sweat Hogs, but up until probably 2010, 2012, it was the premier for so many years. It was the premier spaced learning, results-oriented training class that ever was in the real estate business. So I took that class in 1990. It completely changed how I did real estate because I actually then knew how to do real estate. I actually was trained to do real estate. Those other years, I was kind of just running around and doing what I think the majority of real estate professionals do. No tracks, no guidance, no direction really, other than just running around with as many people as we can run around with, right? So in 2000, I started teaching instruction like real estate classes in 1990. And then in 2005, one of the creators, one of the owners of the Sweat Hogs program reached out to me. He was my trainer. And he said, Vin, man, we're really looking to rebuild Sweat Hogs and bring it to the next level. Would you come on as a trainer? So I started to do training in probably 2005, 2006. And from that, I started to do a lot of coaching. But at the root of what I do, and this is important for the people who are on here, the root of what I do is real estate sales, right? I do own a real estate office here. I do have a team of real estate professionals that work with me. But in the end, I'm a salesperson, and I got into the real estate business to sell. Right. So what I've really spent the majority of my career on is doing real estate, the listing, the sales, the negotiating, the listing presentations, the buyer presentations, the whole deal. Mm-hmm. So I think the best part of me that I can offer you all is that I do this for a living, right? So I'm not a trainer who's been out of the real estate business for years.
Right.
So when it comes to certain technologies, when it comes to certain how-tos, because the business has evolved over the years, right? I mean, we don't do business exactly the same as we did it in 1990, probably not even the way we did it just 10, 12 years ago. And the reason that is mostly because of technology, right? Is the adaptation of technology, like lead services like Market Leader and honestly REDX. I'm not just doing this, and by the way, they're not paying me to do this. I'm doing this because I love REDX as a tool, as a system. It revolutionizes how people can become successful in the real estate business. So that's kind of my history. I'm married 30 years. I have 3 great kids, drive me crazy every day, but that's their job, right? If they're not driving you crazy, then things aren't normal, right? So I'm a very blessed man. What else can I say? That's me.
I love that. I love that you say that. I mean, you're still selling real estate, so you still are in the thick of it, right? That these people that haven't sold a house in years and years and years, especially, I mean, you say how much real estate has changed. Like, think about how much has changed since the pandemic, right? Like, even more so, the importance of technology has really intensified just within the past 18 months or so. So
unbelievable. It is unbelievable, guys. And I'll tell you that, you know, I most of the trainers that trained me, quite honestly, were no longer in the real estate business when they trained me.
Yeah.
I think I'm not saying that you can't get a benefit from having a trainer or a coach who isn't in the real estate business, but just think of what an advantage it is to have somebody that you can work with, or have somebody on a podcast, on a training like this, on a workshop, you can call it whatever you want, who's actually doing the real estate business every day. I probably spent about 3 hours already today just prospecting.
I love that.
I try to do that every day, 2 to 3 hours of prospecting. It's old school, but some things will never change with technology. And getting on the phone and prospecting is as important as it was, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So just makes it easier, especially with systems like REDX.
Yeah, I think it's foundational, right? If you have a strong foundation, then everything else kind of works out. And if you're not prospecting or lead generating or anything like that, then I mean your business is going to dry up. So as long as you're prospecting, then your business will be fine. You just have to kind of keep doing it, right? Even though a lot of people say it's old school or cold calling is dead or whatever, it's something that's always going to be around, and it's something that's always going to work no matter what. It's tried and true method, right? So
I agree with you. And it's all about your approach to the call, right? So when you make a prospecting call, what's your approach? Is your approach to try to get the listing, which you're never going to do over the phone, or to just try to schedule an appointment? So what I do is just try to schedule. For me, I want to go on 5 listing appointments a week. This way I can kind of pick and choose the listings that I really want to take. So like I own my own company, and I don't want to take listings that don't sell, because it costs me my reputation, and it also costs me money.
Right.
So I can be a little bit more picky as to which listings I really want to take. And of course, what we want are saleable listings, right? So that's the deal.
Yeah. Great. And I'm curious to hear, because I mean, the Utah market, for example, is kind of crazy right now. I know all markets are crazy right now with low inventory.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that. How has your methods changed at all because of the crazy market with low inventory?
So that's a great question. So typically the first go-to, right, are expireds and for sale by owners, right?
Right.
But there are far fewer, at least, see, I don't know what your inventory is like there, but here, inventories are really low.
Yes.
And I think that's, like you were saying, I think that's kind of universal, Haley. I think across the board, most markets are experiencing. So what do you do when you have so few expireds and so few for sale by owners. Go to GeoLeads, right? I'm dead serious. You start calling. First of all, I suggest that you go back to your 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, before all this craziness. I mean, it was busy during that time, but it wasn't this crazy.
Right.
And what you do is you go to those expireds and say, look, you know what? I know you had it on the market a while ago. You would not believe what kind of price you could get today. Have you considered maybe reselling again? Let's get together, whatever the case is. So going back to older expireds, I think is a great tool. And also GeoLeads. You notice that 4 houses just sold on that block. Well, it's very likely that somebody else on that block or on the surrounding blocks and in that neighborhood are going to say, you know what, they just got this. Maybe we should think of selling. And what you start to do is call around that neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. And call what you would call maybe more like cold calling.
Right.
I have to tell you that cold calling leads, if you can get one cold call lead, it is better, less stressful, and less agonizing than dealing with a FSBO, for sale by owner, or an expired. Now, again, I've made a small fortune on FSBOs and expired listings, so I'm a big proponent of it. I'm not suggesting that you just toss that away and give up. No, absolutely, but go through your expireds and for sale by owners first thing. And then if you just don't have enough leads, you know that inventory is king. Listings are the name of the game. That's been the deal from day one.
Right.
Start calling around, even if it's not your sale. I don't know if you know, but a house just sold on your block. It doesn't have to be your sale, or a new listing just came up on your block. It doesn't have to be your listing to call around that and say, you know what, do you know of anybody looking to move into the area? Do you know of somebody who might be looking to sell? So it's basic stuff. The tough part of it is dedicating the time and making the commitment. Trust me when I tell you, I've looked at every possible way to do the real estate business without prospecting, because if anybody tells you they like it, they need therapy or something, all right? You got to get them checked out, because there's no way that somebody in their right mind says, I can't wait, man. It's 2 hours of prospecting. I can't wait.
Right.
That's crazy, man. That is crazy. You still have to commit to push yourself through that. When we talk about goal setting, because every time I talk about goal setting, I talk about time management. And what are you spending your time doing?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my feeling is that you have to block out. So when I work with my coaching students, I literally take out a calendar. I insist that they bring out not just a calendar on your phone, like a calendar. And I say, block out 3 days a week from 10 o'clock till 12 o'clock or whatever it is, your prospecting time. And you have to treat that like it's a doctor's appointment, like you're going in for surgery, like it's that serious, right? You obviously, emergencies come up, and sometimes something happens with your family or something, and you don't get to do it that day. But if you don't make the plan to write it down, and this is the whole basis of time management, the whole basis of goal setting, is if you don't write it down, you'll never achieve it. You will never achieve what you want. Yeah, I'm not going to set a goal. I'm just going to do real estate as hard as I can for a year and make as much money as I can. Well, that's nice, but without a written goal, without an actual dollar amount, you're just kind of running around in circles. Mm-hmm. So that's how I approach it.
Yeah, I think back when you were talking a little bit about your story, when you were early in real estate, you said that you were kind of running around. You had no guide. You were just kind of doing whatever. And I think you talking about these goals is a testament to that, because you didn't have a direction, right? And so tell me a little bit about the difference there of what that felt like versus now, where you have a clear business plan, you have clear goals, things like that.
So and I'll tell you, actually, the greatest impact of that was, some of our guests today might not be as old as I am. Okay, so they don't really remember what the 1980s were like in terms of in New York anyway, the Northeast. I think in a large part of the country, the 80s were crazy. 84, 85, 86,
I
87, 88, right? I started in 83. So those years were so busy. It was an unprecedented time. In 2 or 3 years, the value of home prices would double. That's never happened in the history of real estate in this whole country. So I rode that wave. I entered college in 83. I graduated in 87. But through that time, I went to school full time, but I was able to do the real estate business and make a ton of money. And the reason is because you didn't really have to have skill and direction to make money in a market like that.
Right.
So what happened was in 1988, 1889, when the market burst, when that bubble, right? I almost lost everything. My house was in foreclosure. I had no direction whatsoever. So the training that I got, and part of that was creating a business plan, managing my time properly. That was a huge part of me being able to turn around everything. So it had a major impact on me personally. Adversity breeds success, right? And that's probably the best thing that happened to me, was that I almost lost it all. I mean, I was months behind on my mortgage. I was in a free fall, basically. But I was able to get the right direction. Sweat Hogs really changed my life. That particular program really helped me to get back on track. And not that I was even on track before. I think I was just going like this all over the place, just like, so
A track.
Yeah, right. Whatever. Right. I don't do anything now without planning it out. I went from just being kind of lax and all to everything I do has a plan. Everything I do has a purpose. Everything I do has a track. And that's how I approach the real estate business. When I go on a listing appointment, I ring the bell, I smile, I pay him a compliment, I take him to the kitchen table, I break the ice, I take him on a safe island. There is a process that I follow. And that's in stark contrast to just doing the real estate business and just running around. And I will tell you that you don't really need a ton of skill to do real estate in this kind of a real estate market. But what's going to happen, like always will, is that when something goes crazy like it has been, there's going to be a time where that is going to change. And we're going to get back to reality. And the question is, are the majority of real estate professionals really prepared for reality? And I'm sorry to say, at least here in New York, because it's so easy to get a license. It's so easy to find a sponsor. 75 hours, $395 for the class. I know because I teach it. And yet they think they're ready for the world. And then, of course, they go out into the real estate business, they get exposed to reality. And they realize, geez, you know what? This isn't so easy. So, yes, it is not easy. But if you have a track to run on, it's going to take time to build, guys. Just be patient. This is not a get-rich-quick scenario here. You just have to you believe in yourself and just take your time, have a dream, have a goal, put it in writing, and make sure that you have specific action steps to support that goal. So one of the things that has always been important to me is having a balance, right? So when I do goals, I set 3 goals every year. One is my income goal. And around that is how many listings I might need to get, how many calls I need to make, how many appointments I need to schedule, how many appointments I need to attend. The second goal is my personal goal for me. Mm-hmm. Now, let me tell you something, folks. If you don't put yourself first, everything else suffers, right? I'm not saying to be so hyper selfish that you just spit on everybody along the way and you say, you know what else matters. I have a family. They're important to me. I cannot take care of them in the way the best of my ability, right? If I am not set with me. Now, I don't know if I'll ever really be set with me. I'll always want to try to do more. I'll always try to want to improve, because this business gives you the opportunity to fail every day in some ways, but also improve every day in some ways. Right. So I have a goal for me. So it might be I want to get into shape. And I'm also a certified personal trainer.
Oh, wow.
Not that I do that. I don't have clients, but mind and body. I've always believed that the mind suffers if the body does, and the body suffers if the mind does. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I always was very physically active my whole life, coaching, playing basketball, playing tennis, playing paddleball, whatever it was, because I loved physical exercise. I loved it. And because of that, it's probably why I'm not in therapy or I don't take hard drugs, right? Right. So I have a goal for me every year. It might be to get more fit. It might be to spend more time taking care of my mental health, reading, doing things that I want to do, right? It could be reading, it could be art, it could be I love photography, I play musical instruments. I haven't picked up my guitar in probably a year and a half. So things like that help me mentally, but things that I want to do for me. I have to be right for all of these other aspects to work. Right. For my work goal to be achieved, I'm better off. I'll be more successful getting that achieved if I'm on the right track with me. And then, of course, comes my family. So I have a family goal. Guys, it's all about a balance. To have all the money in the world and not be able to spend time taking care of you or take care of your family, that's not success to me. It is not all about financial success at the cost of everything else. No way. That's not success. Right. You might have a lot of money, but I don't consider that a successful life. So when I set my goals, I look at those three. It's the pedestal, right? These are the three aspects. There is business. I have to have a business goal. I have to have a personal goal, and I have to have a family goal. And that's how I look at my life. That's how I try to structure it.
I love that. I think it's important that you bring up mindset, because I think that's what I'm kind of hearing is you work on your personal goals and you're improving your mindset and you're focused on your family and you're focused on the things that matter, and that makes you a better real estate agent, right? You're happier, and and people, especially on the phone that you're prospecting to or whatever, can feel that. And if you're unhappy, your clients aren't going to want to list with you, of course.
You know what, Haley? That's so important you say that, because when you make a lot of calls, people can hear misery on the other end of the phone, right? So if you're like, oh God, I got to make these calls. If you're stressed or if you're not comfortable, you're so 100% right. Your mindset, your enthusiasm, your excitement, your professionalism can come through on a phone. Mm-hmm. Or the lack thereof, right? Or enthusiasm or the lack of enthusiasm. So you make huge points there. It is so important that your mindset, and if you can balance those three, you're not always going to be happy in your business life, maybe, or your personal life, or your family life, but we always strive to improve. We always strive to do what we can. And in terms of the mindset part, and I was at a business network meeting yesterday, and they had this speaker there. It was it was virtually done. They had a speaker regarding, how to set your goals and how to create good habits, right, to achieve those goals. So, and then one person got up and says, you know what, I made a commitment this year that I am going to get into better shape. I'm going to lose this amount of pounds. And she started to go through the different activities that she was going to do to get to that goal, right? Mm-hmm. But when you say mindset, Haley, this is the biggest. So I got up and I said, look, guys, this is really important. I think you absolutely have to write it down. I think you have to have a plan of action. But the mindset is where it begins. I don't know if you guys have ever read or seen The Secret, right? So The Secret is a book, but it's also a Netflix, I don't want to call it movie, but it's like a documentary. And the basis of that is the law of attraction. So for people who are miserable and think miserable or negative feelings or thoughts, this is what comes into their life. For those people who think positive, and good things. Look, we all think there's always adversity, there's always illness, there's always death, there's always all of these things that are going to sometimes stop you in your tracks. They're going to push you off course. Absolutely 100%. I am not going to deny that. But how you respond, how you approach, how you get through those times, and always the mindset. Haley you bring up such a huge point, because to me, it's all about your mindset. And if you don't believe in your goal, you will never get there. Right? You will never. Your goal has to be something that excites you, that motivates you. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's always going to be the case, guys, right? This is never, I don't ever coach my coaching students or my trainees, the people I train, and that you're just going to start doing what I'm teaching you. It's going to just take off. You are going to struggle from time to time. That's just the way it is. So, Haley, when you say mindset, it is huge. You have to believe. This is the first set here in setting a goal, is have a dream. You have to have a dream or something that you really want. Number 2, you have to believe that it's attainable. You have to believe in yourself, and you also have, I'd like to make $1 million in real estate in the next year. Wouldn't we all? And I'm not saying that that's not attainable, but it has to be a realistic, attainable goal, right? You have to write it down, whatever that goal is. And what I'm speaking about is, if you're going to make $100,000 selling real estate in the next year, and 70% of that is going to come from listings sold, how many listings do you need to get in the next year? You got to write that down.
Yep.
Because Haley, if you don't mind, I'm going to show them this chart that I was showing you before.
Oh yeah, let me add it here.
Guys, just so you know, this is my affirmation. Every day I start out with an affirmation, right? Something that gets me focused on every day. And the fact is that I am a master salesperson, and as such, I am guided to do and say the things that contribute to my success. Each day I walk and talk like the master salesperson I am. Each day my code of conduct directs my activities. Each day I take the steps that lead me closer to my goals. Each day I accept adversity as friendly foes and learn from them. Each day I perform with an air of confidence, yet I show others that I care. Each day, when asked the secret of my success, I gladly take the time to share. From this moment on, anything that happens in my best interest, because I am a master salesperson. So when you talk mindset, Haley, that's where it begins, right? Is your belief in yourself and your abilities. Now, in terms of your goals, right? If you want to fast forward, let me see. I think I can let me just go through this. This is just, if we ever have any time to do a podcast on time management, I would love to do that, because you'll see some of the slides here. But here's kind of when I speak about balancing personal time and business time and your family time. This is critical that you have this balance, but that's something, I guess, for another day. What I want you to look at, though, is how to write a business plan, right? So as I said before, it has to be specific. It has to be attainable. You have to write it down. And every coaching student that I have, or every training student that I have, has to bring in an 8.5 by 11 picture of their goal. They got to send it to me. Or they have to come in. What is it that you want? And it can't be just this big dollar bill. It has to be something. If it's a car, if it's a house, if it's your kid's college education, if it's cosmetic surgery, whatever is going to turn you on, right? Whatever is going to give you that energy, that's got to be your goal. And it should be your business goal, your personal goal, your family goal, right?
Right.
And I always tell people, where you can find your goals? Start with a dream. And the problem is that adults do not dream like kids dream. Like if you ask the kid, right, what does a kid dream about? The biggest stuff in the world, right? They want to be an astronaut. They want to be a pilot. They want to be something that is larger than life. It's obvious that you'll never have a kid say, I want to grow up and be a professional real estate salesperson, but that's besides the point. My point is that where are the dreams? Where is the drive? Where is do we not have dreams anymore as adults? So we just given up on that. I've taught and trained over 10,000 people, and I can tell you that when I first get them, when we first meet, they don't think as big as they used to think when they were younger. It was the sky's the limit, right, Haley? Come on.
Yeah.
It's the sky's the limit. So I would say make sure it's specific, make sure it's attainable. And what I mean by that is the belief has to be there. You have to believe it. And if you watch The Secret, it's right on Netflix, or you read the book, what you'll find is that if things really aren't working out for you right now in your life, it is tied to your thoughts. It's tied to your attitude. Attitude is everything. Success in any business, anything at all, is, I was going to say 100% attitude. Obviously, that's not true because there's work and there's effort and so on, but it's way up there. 80%, 90%. It's so much about mindset, right? Mm-hmm. So start with a dream, something that you could really say, this is what and for somebody to say to me, because I've heard this before, said, Vin, I have pretty much everything I need. I really don't have a goal. That's crazy. Everybody wants something. And I don't care how crazy, outrageous you might think it is. If you think it's attainable, it's attainable. If you think it's not, guess what? It's not attainable. So if you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably what? You're probably right. So, and remember this, guys, if anybody can, I can, right? So if anybody can, you can. So how do you find a goal? Begin with a dream and then have an impact session. So with me and my family, we're going to Italy over the summer. So we sat down at the September, October, and we said, what do we want to do next year as a family? We want to go to Italy. It's going to cost me a small fortune, so that definitely drives me. But anyway, you have to take the time to consider what it is you want, and then go off and then start writing your action steps. Well, if I want to get more fit, if I want to lose weight, if I want to get 10 listings, that means if I have to go on 5 listings to get one, that means that I have to go on 5 listing appointments a month or something along those lines. And then how many calls do I need to make to schedule one appointment? So then let me show you what I mean. This is a budget. See, I'm crazy, man. Look at this. Budgets here and all. I have to make $100,000 a year. I've heard this from people. I said, well, I'll tell you what, let's do a budget. And then we find out, well, they really need 120 or 125,000 because you're not adding in things that you like for a rainy day fund for your kids' education. I don't know about you, but as a real estate professional, I don't have a retirement account that comes with the license, right? I have to plan for my retirement, right? I have to plan for all of these things. I have to pay my own health care. So all of these things have to be taken into consideration. And a lead generation. So here's one of the best things that I could give you today. This is what I call an income/activity converter. And so it obviously begins with, I have 12 months, right? It's 12-month year. Actually, it's almost the end of January. So this would have been more ideal to do probably in November or December, and going forward, something that and I suggest that you take a picture of this, you take a screenshot of it, you print it out and type it up any way you want. But this is just, when I saw this, right, I was going broke at the time when I first was presented with this, because this is based on something I got out of Sweat Hog. I said, I can do this. So my goal was $100,000 a year. Let's just say it's 100. I don't know what it is. Let me go back here and see if this is. So this is $150,000 a year, right? I want you to look at this, right? So 150,000, that means now if I average the average cost of my commissions, it's much higher now because this is pretty old, guys. Please forgive me. But I want you to have this just to get an idea of how this works. So what is the average commission you get on a closing? So let's just say it's 4,500. If you want to make 150,000 and your average commission to you is 4,500, then you're going to have to close 33 transactions. Now, I know for a lot of people, they would be looking at this and saying, stop right there. I can't do this. Again, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably what? You're probably right. So I don't want you to look at this 33. How many listings are you going to need to get to your goal? 25. Because out of that 33, 25 from listings sold, 8 from actual taking buyers out from house to house and actually selling them a house. So this is, and I'll tell you this, you see the 75% listings sold, 12%. This actually should show, this is wrong. I didn't have these slides made up. I mean, I had them made up. I didn't do this. 25% in sales. That's what that should say, 25%. So you do the math, and that 33 is 25 listings sold, 8 sales. And then, well, how many listings am I going to have to get for 25 of them to sell? Well, that all depends on what your list to sell ratio is. If you sell 80%, then of course, then your number is probably going to be about, let me see, 8 times. So you're probably going to have to get about 32 listings. Now, I know, please don't look at these numbers. Please don't look at this, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to close 33 sales or transactions. I'm not going to be able to get 25 listings. Heck, now I have to get 33 or 32 listings to so 25 of them sell, because guys, they're not all going to sell. Can we agree on that, right? They're not all going to sell. Right. How many contracts? And I'm going to kind of skip over this part because I haven't sold a house in probably about 15 to 20 years. 100% of my income is listing sold. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that, right? You're trying to develop your careers. You should be able to service your clients if they want a rental, if they have somebody who is referred to you that wants to buy. I have a team, and if I get a buyer lead, it goes to my team, right? So I don't do open houses. I do not do take buyers out to see houses. And that always frees up my time to do the most important part of what a real estate professional should be doing, is prospecting and going on listing appointments. That should be the main focus, right? So the question is, how many appointments do I need to get one listing? So I'm going to say 4. For me, it's probably 3, maybe 2. But I'm going to tell you that no one's going on 4 listing appointments and getting all 4.
Right.
All right. If they tell you that, they're all relatives. It's their mother, it's their brother, it's their sister, right? So if I want to close 25 listings, right, I'm going to have to get 41. You see at the bottom here, which means if I multiply 41 by 4, that's like 175, 180 appointments, 164 it says. But here's the thing, guys, stop looking at that. That's a year. Divide that by 12. And where are you? Well, you're talking about maybe 10 listing appointments, 12, 13 listing appointments, 14 listing appointments a month. Then divide that by 4, because you're dealing with weeks, right? And now you're dealing with maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 listing appointments. Again, this is all based on your commissions being $4,500. Mm-hmm. My average is like 8 or 9 grand. So this would be half. So I would effectively, in this market, I'd have to get 20 listings. I'd have to only have 10 of them sell. So it's all relative. But my point is that if I only have to go on 5 listing appointments a week, see, break this down, 164 listings looks like, oh my God, I can't do, how am I going to go on 164 listing appointments a year? If you divide that by 12, you're what, at maybe 13 a month, then divide that by 4, that's more like maybe 3 or 4 a week. And then the question comes down to, how many calls do I have to make? How many prospects do I need to get one appointment? So I might need 10. So if I have to get 4 listing appointments a week, That means I have to call 40 people, right, to get 4 appointments, right? If I need 10 leads to get one, if I need 20. But my point is this, let's just say I needed 20 leads for one appointment. Multiply that by 4, that's 80. And if you work 5 days a week, divide 80 by 5, and how many calls per day is that? Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to look at the daily activity more so than I want you to look at these big numbers, because if you look at these big numbers, they can tend to be a little intimidating, like, oh my God, I got to get 40 listings. Stop looking at that. If I told you that you needed 40 leads a week to call to make 150,000 a year, now we're talking.
Right.
Now this is something that doesn't seem so it's just so huge that I can't even consider, especially when I've never even sold a house. Or I only sold 5 houses in the last year. I only sold 10 houses in the last year. Again, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. So concentrate on your mindset, believe in what you can accomplish, and then just start day by day. And with REDX, I mean, getting 40 leads is easy a week. That's like nothing. Between the expires, the for sale by orders, the geo leads, it's unbelievable, guys. So if you had to call 100 people a week, or what would that translate to? What, 20 a day? If you had to call 30, 40, 50 a day to make 150,000, you tell me that's not worth it?
Right.
So don't look at these big numbers particularly. Don't look at I got to get 30 listings in the next year. I have to get how many appointments? 160 appointments in the next year. Break it down into daily activity, and all of a sudden it seems doable. It seems achievable. So just start every day. 10 calls, 20 calls, 30 calls, whatever it is. And if you don't want to call every day, you only want to call 3 days a week, then just beef it up on those days. But when you prospect, realize that every day there are new expireds, every day there are new for sale by owners. And if you're late to the party, if you call a day late, heck, if you call hours late, 20 other, 30 other, 40 other people have already called, right? Am I wrong? So just something to think about, guys. That's all. And this is how I approach my business.
This is awesome. I think, here, let me bring this back up. If you focus on how many calls to make every single day, that stuff happens. All the other stuff happens. It comes,
Correct.
Listing appointments. Like if you're focused on saying the right things on the phone, having the right script, and focusing on listing appointments while you're on the phone, then it'll come. And so I think, and I like this breakdown because you have to work backwards. You have to see your goal and what you want. And then once you break it all down, like you said, in that converter, then you look at what you need to do every single day. You do it every single day. Like you said, block it out in your calendar and make sure nothing gets in the way of that. Then you'll reach your goal.
And the other thing I would do, guys, is since prospecting is probably the most neglected, it's the most difficult, is do it first, right? I start first thing in the morning, and I'm never going to admit to this, right? If this video gets out, I'm going to deny it, but I start, like, I'm texting people at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just texting them. They don't have to read it. It doesn't wake them up. I'm not calling them, but I start really early in the morning. And I tell you what, by 9 or 10 o'clock, I feel free. Like I got the most difficult part of what I have to do out of the way. Now, in terms of what Haley is saying here about what to say, if we ever do a prospecting podcast in the future, I can very easily give you, and I don't use scripts, guys. I do not use scripts. I only use tracks. Scripts only work if the person on the other end of the phone you're speaking to has a script as well. Doesn't work. I'm telling you, scripts are really good to role play maybe and practice so that you can get the right dialogue down. But I have tracks that will change your life. I'm dead serious. It changed my life. The right tools will make all the difference, guys. And of course, your attitude and your discipline and your consistency, right? Consistency is critical. Prospect 3 days a week, every week for the rest of your life. Prospect 4 days a week, whatever it is, but just commit to do it for the duration. So that's my advice.
Well, Vincent, we're out of time here, but I think we're gonna have to have you back to talk about either tracks or scripts. Or scripts is a dirty word. We don't want to say that.
No. They have their place, Haley, just not when you're actually making the live phone calls, but we'll get to that.
Role play, practicing stuff. Also, we can talk about time management. We'll just have to have you back so that we can talk about all these things. So this has been an awesome 45 minutes. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to our audience. If they're listening to it after this live, then that's usually when most of the people listen. So I'm excited to hear people's feedback about what they think about all of this, and if they start using that tracker, and hopefully they'll be more successful this year if they're tracking the right numbers, right?
I hope so. It's the greatest honor in my life, the greatest privilege I have, other than with my wife and my kids, is to help people who are trying to get started, or what I call restarted in the real estate business, because everybody does. We all have slumps. We all have, like I said to you before, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's life. That's the way it goes. But sorry if I rambled on too long.
No, this has been great. I think we're right at the end here, so this is perfect. Thank you so much. We do. Betsy had a little question, I think. Vinny, one of my associates, a top performer, said to me that her success started after completing your Sweat Hogs course. Is there a possibility of you doing this program again?
Look at that. Vinny, one of my associates, Betsy, hold on. Yes, there is. It's just a matter of when the world will cooperate. So let me say this to you. Is it Betsy?
Betsy, yes.
So Betsy, I will say that we've tried to develop something similar as a virtual class. It breaks my heart, to be honest with you, because as Haley and I were speaking about earlier, and I mentioned, is you cannot replicate the energy, the enthusiasm online, right? And everybody's got their phone and it's going off, and distractions are inevitable, but when people are doing virtual, it's even worse. It's more difficult. And I'd hate to see that people would make that investment. And in the Real Sweat Hogs program, we break everybody off into groups, and they work as teams, and they compete against the other teams in the group. It's so fascinating and so amazing that I just, you can see I get excited just even thinking about teaching it. Yes, Betsy, I hope to God that we can do this again. It would be a privilege for me to be able to. I miss it terribly.
I know. Hopefully we can all get a little bit better, healthier, and get back to all those great face-to-face kinds of things, events.
Yes, ma'am. So. Yes.
Well, thank you again, Vincent. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We are going to be right back here next week, same time, same place. Vincent, we'll just have to talk about when we can get you back on here. But thanks, everybody, for watching. Make sure that you're subscribed if you enjoy this conversation. I do love running this podcast because I get to talk to agents all the time who want to better their business. So thanks for tuning in. And I think that's a wrap for today.
Please, any feedback is really welcome, guys. I'm very serious about that. If I'm speaking too loudly, if you can't see me well enough, if I insulted anybody, I'm in New York, so we insult people all the time here, and they don't think twice about it. So I really want to continue to get better at what I do. So any opinions, any feedback would be gentle, but tell me what I do, what I need to do. So it was a pleasure spending time with you all. Haley, awesome. Thank you so much. I look forward to the next one.
Thank you. See ya.